Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. The Sky Marshal Court and the Flying Star House finally understood. The person who could order Sikong Baichen around did not have to prove his status and cultivation base. If there had been a need, his act of crushing Yi Zhen and killing Chen Tiandu with a single palm strike was enough evidence. Despair and terror gradually filled their hearts. When the cries died down, 2,000 disciples from the Flying Star House had died. Many of the cultivators nearly went insane from this experience. They forced themselves to manifest their avatars and fled with their grand techniques. The Jasper Saber and Longevity Sword seemed to have eyes of their own as they sought out targets and promptly killed them. Ding! Killed a target. Reward, 500 merit points. Domain extra, 500 merit points. Ding! Killed a target. Reward, 1000 merit points. Domain extra, 1000 merit points. There are 8-leaf cultivators among them? Zhou nodded with a pleased expression on his face when he heard the notification. The unending stream of merit points credited into his account made him realize just how powerful the Flying Star House was. If such a force had invaded the Golden Lotus domain, it would certainly become the greatest sect. Alas, those who decided the rise and fall of the sects were often the cultivators at the top. No matter how many nascent divinity cultivators they had, without 9 or 10-leaf cultivators, they were no different than a bunch of monkeys waiting to be slaughtered. For the Nether Sect's master, Zhenghai, and Shangrong, who killed at the slightest disagreement, they were not nauseated or disgusted. They knew one side had to die. If the Flying Star House had been victorious, their fates would be worse. Nobody could survive the onslaught of attacks by Shangrong and Zhenghai, who had experienced countless battles. Even the other 9-leaf cultivators were no match for the two of them. Meanwhile, the 10-leaf Sikong Baichen moved with divine speed and agility. He leaped into the air as though he was as light as a swallow and extended his hand. Lu Zhan sensed the killing intent and leaped back before he attacked with his energy sabers. The neat rows of energy sabers attempted to keep Sikong Baichen at bay. However, Sikong Baichen remained calm and nonchalant. His 10-leaf lotus blossomed, and his red lotus avatar released energy swords into the surroundings. Then, his body faded out of focus. He easily sidestepped the attacks and arrived before Lu Zhan. He controlled the energy swords shooting out of his avatar and directed them at Lu Zhan's chest. Block. Thousands upon thousands of energy sabers converged into a shield in front of Lu Zhan. The shocking sword strikes from the 10-leaf cultivator easily pierced the barrier, the protective energy, the energy sabers, and finally Lu Zhan's body like a hot knife through butter. It reached his heart without any resistance. He looked at the 200-foot avatar before him with widened eyes before he lowered his eyes to look at the narrow and bloody wound across his torso. The primal chi inside his extraordinary 8 meridians seemed to be blocked. The only thing flowing out was his blood. It was easy to kill but difficult to save. Lu Zhan knew that he did not have much longer to live under these circumstances. He shook slightly and pointed at Sikong Baichen. Is the 9th temple revolting? He coughed once before he plummeted with his eyes open. Vice Commander Lu. The other warriors exclaimed in shock. Someone tried to pull Lu Zhan back with an energy seal, but he was falling too quickly. Before the warrior could even react, Lu Zhan had already fallen to the ground. Sikong Baichen shook his head slightly. He understood why Lu Zhou wanted him to do this. Lu Zhou had wiped the Flying Star House out. If the 9th temple were to stay out of the muddied water at this time, their alliance would easily crumble. Now that Sikong Baichen had killed Lu Zhan, the 9th temple's fate was now bound to the evil Sky Pavilion. The troops from the royal court looked at Sikong Baichen. Who could be a match against this peerless expert? With Lu Zhan dead, they were left without a commander. Sikong Baichen said gruffly, "Go back and tell Xia Hosheng that the Flying Star House has been harboring foreign tribesmen and has been wiped out. He'll have to obtain my permission if he intends to destroy the 9th temple. Get lost." His voice resounded thunderously in the ears of the thousands of royal court cultivators. The royal court had made a wrong move today. They had thought sending Lu Zhan was enough to quell the disturbance. After all, they had the Sky Martial Court and the Flying Star House on their side. No matter how they looked at it, the 12 sects of Cloud Mountain would be annihilated no matter what. The Ninth Temple was weak and without allies, they would be wiped out sooner or later. Who would have expected when the troops arrived, the Flying Star House had already lost and was even slaughtered before their eyes. The palace cultivators were frightened out of their wits and turned tail to flee. The royal court did not send elites to deal with this matter. Lu Zhou did not think these small fries would provide him with many merit points. At this time, all the members of the Flying Star House present on the scene were dead. Zhenghai and Shangrong, the two nine-leaf golden lotus cultivators, displayed their outstanding sword and saber techniques. The Sky Martial Court cultivators shivered in fear. Without their chief instructor, Chenfeng Luo, the Sky Martial Court was only a platter of loose sand. Sikong Beichen returned to Lu Zhou's side. "Brother Lu, what should we do with the members of the Sky Martial Court?" He wondered if Lu Zhou would kill them as well. The people of Sky Martial Court heard the question and panicked even more. Don't even think about it. Our court master." Their sole support was their court master, Yu Chenshu. He was the only 10-leaf cultivator who mastered the karmic fire in the Red Lotus domain. "I don't even care about the royal court. Do you think that I'd be wary of your puny Sky Martial Court?" Lu Zhou placed his hands on his back. Zhenghai bowed and said, "Master, these people are too rude. Why don't we kill them as well, since they wish to repeat the Flying Star House's mistakes?" The Sky Martial Court cultivators started before they shrank back in fear. Lu Zhou glanced at the Sky Martial Court cultivators and said, "Lock them up in Cloud Mountain." Understood. 4 nine-leaf cultivators flew toward the Sky Martial Court cultivators. "Don't blame me for being merciless if any one of you tries to escape. Move." The Sky Martial Court cultivators had no choice but to allow themselves to be ushered onto the cloud platform. On the cloud platform, the Cloud Mountain disciples who had been bought over by Yizhen were all captured and brought here. All of them were kneeling, too afraid to move. Nie Qingyun did not seem as prideful as before as well. Lu Zhou said, "Nie Qingyun, I'll leave the members of the Sky Martial Court to you." Nie Qingyun was taken aback. He said respectfully, "Cloud Mountain has suffered great losses after this battle. Senior Lu, what's the reason for this?" The Sky Martial Court and the Flying Star House colluded to annihilate Cloud Mountain. "Now that I've dealt with them on your behalf, why are you so afraid?" Lu Zhou asked. Even the Thousand Willow Monastery and the Ninth Temple were bold enough to challenge the royal court, and yet, the disciples of the 12 sects of Cloud Mountain dared not. The Sky Martial Court has Yu Chenshu and the support of the royal court. Nie Qingyun trailed off when he saw Lu Zhou looking at him. Lu Zhou shook his head and said, "If these people from the Sky Martial Court dare to take half a step out of Cloud Mountain, I'll go on a killing spree." Nie Qingyun's heart shuddered. He knew Lu Zhou was doing this to force Cloud Mountain out of their neutral stance. If Lu Zhou could pit Cloud Mountain against the Sky Martial Court, it would be easier for him to deal with the cultivators from the Sky Martial Court and the capital. If he killed the Sky Martial Court disciples right away, Yu Chenshu would only come knocking on the doors of the Ninth Temple and the Thousand Willow Monastery. Moreover, Yu Chenshu would also try to lure Cloud Mountain to his side. How could Lu Zhou allow a force such as Cloud Mountain to be controlled by the palace and the Sky Martial Court? Nie Qingyun fell deep into thoughts for a moment before he ordered loudly, "Lock the Sky Martial Court disciples up in the prison." Understood. The Cloud Mountain disciples moved to seal the cultivation bases of the Sky Martial Court disciples and took them away. Sikong Beichen cupped his fists together and said, "That was a brilliant move, Brother Lu." With this, Cloud Mountain would be on the opposite side of the Sky Martial Court. As the saying went, the enemy of an enemy is a friend. Lu Zhou ignored Sikong Beichen's flattery. Instead, he said, "For such an important occasion, the Sky Martial Court and the Royal Court did not send any elites at all. Don't you find this strange?" A contemplative expression appeared on Sikong Beichen's face when he heard these words. Indeed, it's strange. At this moment, Mang Chengdong said, I suspect that Yu Qinshu and the others are held up by other matters. Lu Zhou looked at Mang Chengdong. Is there anything more important than this? From what I know, the Sky Martial Court has recently developed the Sky Chariot. It's capable of transporting up to 100 cultivators across the endless ocean. I suspect that the Sky Martial Court and the Royal Court have sent their experts to the Golden Lotus domain. The Cloud Mountain disciples cleaned the cloud platform up. It now looked as though nothing had happened. Mang Chengdong's words made everyone fall silent. Yu Shangrong and Yu Zhenghai frowned when they heard this. After a moment's silence, the two of them exchanged a glance and stepped forward. Master, requesting permission to return to the Golden Lotus domain. Sikong Baichen was already convinced that Lu Zhou was an elite from the Golden Lotus domain. He wondered in confusion, Brother Lu has initiated his birth chart, and the overall strength of the Golden Lotus domain is much greater than the Red Lotus domain. Why are both of you so worried? The four evil Sky Pavilion disciples remained silent. Could they tell Sikong Baichen there was only one 9-leaf cultivator in the Golden Lotus domain? In general, the Golden Lotus domain was much weaker than the Red Lotus domain. Master, I want to go back as well. Little Yuan came in between Yu Shangrong and Yu Zhenghai as she said, eldest senior brother, second senior brother, bring me with you. I'll clobber those who dare bully my seniors to death. Lu Zhou looked at his two eldest disciples and said, it'll take too long. I don't think you'll make it in time. Sikong Baichen said, Brother Lu, since we have these many hostages from the Sky Martial Court, we can negotiate with them. Indeed, that was a sound suggestion. The Sky Martial Court has always been conceited. I'm worried they won't bother with us. Yao Qingchuan was frequently in contact with members of the Sky Martial Court, so he knew how prideful they were. The same could be said of the Flying Star House. Mang Chengdong cupped his fists and said, Hall Master Yao has a point. I don't think it's the best moment for a negotiation unless we have another two major sects on our side. This matter aside, do you have any way of obtaining information from the Golden Lotus domain? Lu Zhou asked. Mang Chengdong paced back and forth as he pondered. Finally, he said, I do, but it will be costly. Let's hear it. We'll need 1,000 rare paper talismans. At the same time, the people on the other side will have to set up the same talisman formation as well. I know how to draw the Sky Martial Court's talisman formation, but we don't have any talismans, Mang Chengdong said. Lu Zhou and Sikong Baichen turned to look at Nie Qingyun in unison, frightening and startling Nie Qingyun. He had been considering Cloud Mountain's future, so he was in a daze and was not paying attention to the conversation in his surroundings. When he felt the unnatural gazes on him, he realized what situation he was in and hastily said, I'll provide the talismans. The wise adapt to the times. Nie Qingyun. In consideration of Brother Lu, I'll put our quarrels behind us for now, Sikong Baichen said. In consideration of Senior Lu, I won't quarrel with you as well, Nie Qingyun said before he ordered his men to collect all the talismans in the 12 sects. Talismans are divided into low, middle, high, and best quality as well. For an observation at such a range, using 1,000 best quality talismans is too costly. The requirements are high as well. We'll also need the same formation on the other side. Hence, even if I set up the formation here, we might not be able to see anything, Mang Chengdong said. Upon hearing these words, Nie Qingyun felt a pang of pain in his heart. However, this was not the moment to be frugal. Lu Zhou asked, can we send a message? Unless we have a contact among the Sky Martial Courts group, and someone in the Golden Lotus domain has laid out the same formation as well, it's impossible to send a message with the power of the talismans, Mang Chengdong replied. Lu Zhou nodded. It would be ideal if he could contact Wuya. Alas, it seemed like it would be difficult. An hour later, the talismans were finally brought over and handed to Mang Chengdong. Mang Chengdong drew a circle on the ground and began carving the formation veins. He stuck the talismans onto the formation and added more detailed inscriptions. He kept drawing for an hour on the ground. His head was drenched with sweat and he was panting heavily from the effort. Finally, he stood in the center of the formation and said, "It's done." Sikong Beichen saw how tired Meng Changdong was and asked, "Do you need help?" "Do you know how, Senior Sikong?" "Naturally." Meng Changdong cursed at Sikong Beichen inwardly, "You could have said this an hour ago." If they had worked together on this formation, things would have been done more quickly and easily. However, considering the difference in their statuses, Meng Changdong could only smile stiffly and said, "Thanks. I've already made all the preparations." Shortly after, Meng Changdong joined his palms together and channeled his primal qi. The inscriptions on the ground shone. Buzz. The talismans caught fire and floated up. They merged and formed talisman seals. Between the talisman seals, a round area quickly appeared. The talisman seal seemed like a mirror as images began to appear. It worked. They were in luck. The others seemed delighted as they gathered before the circle of talismans. What they saw was the Sky Martial Court's sky chariot. On the chariot, there was an 8-leaf cultivator who was also sending a message with the same talisman formation. Through the formation, they saw the Sky Martial Court's sky chariot was already in the Golden Lotus domain. 100 cultivators leaped down from the chariot toward the Golden Lotus cultivators who guarded the coastline. It was clear the Golden Lotus cultivators were weak. They were completely crushed by the cultivators from the sky chariot. Upon seeing this, Sikong Beichen, Yao Qingchuan, and Zhao Jianghe remained silent even though they were baffled. Meanwhile, Zhenghai and Shangrong watched with a scowl on their faces. "Master, we can't afford to wait anymore. I request permission to storm the Sky Martial Court and force them to call off the invasion," Zhenghai said. Sikong Beichen said with a sigh, "I didn't expect them to act this quickly." As he watched the Golden Lotus cultivators being defeated in the image, Zhou said evenly, "We'll kill one of Sky Martial Court's members for every life we lost." The others shivered despite the temperature. At this moment, Yao Qingchuan exclaimed in shock. "What's that?" In the formation, they saw a colossal beast charging in. Thunderous explosions rang in the air as its feet moved on the ground, causing the earth to quake and the mountains to shake. "There's such a huge beast in the Golden Lotus domain?" Zhao Jianghe exclaimed, surprised. A 9-leaf red lotus expert manifested his 150-foot avatar and flew toward the huge beast. The beast swiped with its paw. Bam! The 9-leaf avatar recoiled. A white-clad lady could be seen on the back of the beast. She flew out and attacked the Sky Martial Court's sky chariot. "Sixth senior sister. It's sixth senior sister." Little Yuan cried out as she jumped in excitement. The white-clad maiden was Evil Sky Pavilion's 6th disciple, Yi Tianxin. At this moment, she fought alongside Cheng Huang. In just a moment, she turned the tides of the battle and killed the invading cultivators in a frenzy. Ding! Killed a target. Reward, 500 merit points. Domain extra, 500 merit points. Ding! Killed a target. Reward, 500 merit points. Domain extra, 500 merit points. Whiz! A 9-leaf Golden Lotus avatar appeared. The rising flames surged toward one of the Sky Martial Court's 9-leaf cultivators. Karmic power. Yao Qingchuan was shocked. Xia Chengqiu immediately asked Little Yuan, "That's your 6th senior sister?" "Of course. Do you think I won't be able to recognize my 6th senior sister?" Little Yuan said confidently. Xia Chengqiu suddenly remembered Little Yuan's words about how her fellow disciples from the Evil Sky Pavilion could easily smash their heads. It seems like the little girl wasn't exaggerating at all. Zhou was surprised as well when he saw Yi Tianxin did not only reach the 9-leaf stage, but she had mastered the karmic fire as well. With this, he felt more at ease. At this moment, Yao Qingchuan pointed at a peculiar radiance that was shooting toward Yi Tianxin. He cried out, "What's that?" "A desolate grade weapon." "A desolate grade weapon is sneaking up on Miss 6th?" Xia Chengqiu was shocked. The others looked over. They saw a weapon that resembled a blade and a hook at the same time that moved at lightning speed. Mang Chongdong grunted. Time's up. The imagery blurred and ripples appeared briefly before disappearing completely. With a whistle, the remains of the talismans scattered in the air.